Hello everyone, welcome. Today's video is a follow-up to a video I posted recently, which was my end of the year chat health update. And in that video, I spoke about starting HRT, gave an update on my tinnitus, talked about my back pain, and I also talked about how in the past 4 or 5 months, I've been having a lot of issues with my nose, specifically breathing issues and a lot of dryness. And I mentioned that I had booked a consultation with a plastic surgeon that specializes in functional rhinoplasties. Now, before I get into how that consultation went, I do want to take a moment to thank you all for the beautiful response to that health update video. I read every single one of your comments. So many of them brought tears to my eyes and honestly just made me so proud of the community I have built here on YouTube. So many of you are just so supportive and so encouraging and felt so open to telling your stories. The comment section is just full of encouragement and inspiration and ideas. So many of us as we get older don't have people to talk to about these issues. So even if we're not face to face having a conversation, I think just listening to someone who is going through something similar to you and reading the stories from women who are also going through what you're going through, can commiserate, empathize. I think that's really helpful. So I can't thank you enough for your support on that video. It means a lot to me. Now I want to talk about something I don't usually want to talk about, my nose. I'm going to start off with the backstory for those of you who don't know. I had a rhinoplasty in 1994, so 30 years ago. In my community, a lot of people got nose jobs in the community where I grew up. And a lot of my friends were getting nose jobs at 16, 17. My parents always said no. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s in college that for some reason or another, I can't remember exactly how it came to be, but my mother finally said, since insurance was going to cover the surgery due to my deviated septum, and while I was still on my parents' insurance, they decided to support me in getting my nose done. And I got it done over spring break, I want to say junior, maybe even senior year of college. And as soon as the bandages came off, I was happier. I wouldn't say I was happy, but I was happier. My nose looked much better than it did. And rhinoplasties typically take up to 12 months to fully heal. Revision rhinoplasties take longer. That's something I found out in my recent consultation that I'm going to get to. But to finish off the backstory, for years I was not fully happy with my nose, but I was always too afraid to go back and get it done again because I didn't want it to look worse. I just felt like I was tempting fate and that I would be regretful if I got it done and it ended up being worse. So for years, I just let it go. And then I got on YouTube about 9-10 years ago. And I think that the bullying that I had to withstand in junior high and high school kind of helped me prepare for a career on the internet, because as we all know, people can be very, very mean. And yes, I, as well as every other content creator I know, does their best to let comments roll off their back. It's easier said than done. A lot of people don't keep going on social media because of the bullying, the harassment online. I would not have lasted as long as I have on this platform if I didn't have such a thick skin. So once I got on YouTube and people would comment things like, you should go on the TV show Botched, or what the heck happened to her nose, or the doctor who did her surgery should be sued. That was a recent one. 99.99% of the time, I just delete those comments, hide that user from my channel, or block them. I do let it just roll off my back because the majority of my comments, as far as my looks are concerned, are always very, very positive. I can't even wrap my brain around typing something hurtful or that could possibly be seen as hurtful to someone on the internet. I just would never even think to do it. But I'm not going to sit here and say that those comments weren't a tiny, tiny percentage of why I ultimately decided to have this consultation. But let me go back about 5 or 6 years. That was the first time I had considered getting a revision rhinoplasty. I didn't know anything about a functional rhinoplasty because at the time I didn't know that my septum was once again deviated and that I had a collapsed nostril. I was not aware of that until a couple of years ago. But 5, 6 years ago, I can't remember exactly when it was, I did go see a plastic surgeon here in Las Vegas. But this particular surgeon did not specialize in just the head up or the neck up. He wasn't an ENT, which is an ear, nose, and throat doctor. He did all kinds of plastic surgery, breast implants, tummy tucks, all of that. So I went to go see him, and that consultation did not go anything like this one that I just had. In that consultation, the first thing he told me was that I was an extremely difficult case and that my skin, the skin on my nose, was too thick to even do the surgery. So before he would perform the surgery, he wanted me to have a series of chemical peels to thin out the skin on my nose in order to have a better outcome or the best possible outcome for the surgery. And that was going to be several $100s per session. And then the actual surgery, $30,000. I mean, right there it was a no. It was, no. I was not in any financial position to pay $30,000 for a revision nose job. It was out of the question. So that was the last of that. Now we're going to jump to October 2021. I woke up one morning and I had ringing in my left ear. The kind of ringing that you get when you've gone to a really, really loud concert. And I kept thinking it was going to go away by the next day or the day after. I thought maybe it was some earwax that was in there that I needed to get out. And after about 3 weeks, it still had not gone away. So I went to go see a nurse practitioner because I still don't have a general practitioner doctor here in Vegas, and that's a whole other story that I talk about in that health update. So I went to see her, and she sent me for an MRI and then also referred me to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. So when I went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, the first thing he did when he looked into my nose was he said, "Do you know that you have a severely deviated septum and a collapsed nostril?" And I was not aware that I had still a deviated septum. So after hearing that, I did start to think, well, maybe I should get this fixed because maybe it has something to do with my tinnitus or tinnitus. I always thought it was tinnitus, but apparently it's tinnitus, but tinnitus sounds better. But now I'm so used to saying tinnitus, I'm going to say tinnitus. But anyway, I thought I would do anything if it might get rid of the ringing in my ears. And then after seeing the ENT, I also went to an audiologist and they checked my hearing, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds about that because I did cover this in the other video and you're here for the nose info. So basically, I still didn't do anything back then when it came to my nose. And from all the research I've done and from all the doctors I've spoken to, there is no cure for tinnitus. It can be brought on by hormonal changes, perimenopause, menopause. However, I have been on HRT for about 2 months now, and I have not noticed any changes in the ringing. So unfortunately, I have been suffering for 3 years now. But again, I'm getting off subject here. Back to the nose and the appointment. So I researched a lot of doctors all around the country. Even though I still had that $30,000 number in my head, I felt like it was time to finally do something because I almost forgot to tell you this part. Back in September, I started having a lot more problems with my nose as far as the congestion, dryness, and then I kept having a runny nose on this side. I thought that this right here was a stitch that was maybe coming loose after 30 years, and it just kept running. And then when it would stop running, it would scab up, and I'm sorry, this is kind of gross, and then I would get rid of the scab and it would just start running again. So it was just this vicious cycle of my nose running, then scabbing, and then being congested, and using all different kinds of sprays and all different kinds of saline solutions, saline gels, saline sprays, moisture sprays. I was doing all the things and nothing was getting better. So that is when I ultimately started doing the research on doctors around the country that specialized in functional rhinoplasty. That means that you're not trying to change the nose, really. You're just trying to get it to function the way it should, meaning correct the deviated septum, open up the nostril so that I have more airflow coming through, but not change the overall shape. So I found a doctor, and I'm not going to say his name just yet because for privacy reasons, I'm still not sure if I'm going to have the surgery or not. I'll tell you how I'm leaning at the end of this video, but I just feel like for now, it's better if I just keep his name under wraps. And then when I've made my final decision, I will share with you who the doctor is, because I did like him, and I do think that he can do the job and do it well, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. I decided on him because he was someone who specialized, again, in functional rhinoplasty. He has built people's noses from scratch, basically, who have had cancer or other skin diseases that have taken away parts of their nose. He rebuilds noses. He only works from the neck up. He's been doing surgery for 20 years. He's not too far from me. I really didn't want to go to someone in New York or Ohio or Florida, because you do have to do quite a bit of traveling back and forth. And so I found somebody not in Las Vegas or in Nevada, but close enough where I could easily go back and forth. So my communication with the office was great. I reached out to them in October, and the first available consultation was the first week of December 5th, I think it was. So I paid $150 to secure my spot, my consultation. And I had a little bit more communication back and forth with the office, and everything was really professional. They seemed really kind. And in my first message to them, I wrote, "Hi, my name is Risa, and I had a rhinoplasty in 1994, and this is what I'm struggling with right now, and this is what I'm looking for." So she had quoted me a price of around $9,000 to $10,000. And I was actually really surprised. I thought, oh my gosh, like what happened to the $30,000? That's, wow, okay, I can totally handle that. And she did say that while they don't work directly with insurance, they could write something up for me to submit to my insurance to potentially get reimbursed for part of it, because it is a functional rhinoplasty. It is to get my nose functioning the way it should. But I have United Healthcare, so if you know, you know. Most likely I would not get reimbursed. So my husband and I fly to go to this consultation, and I had a first thing in the morning appointment. We go to the office, beautiful office, very professional. Again, everybody's very nice. He was on time. He comes in, and the first thing he says to me is, not to be cocky, but you're here, so you're obviously very smart, because you've done your research and you know that nobody in Nevada does what I do. So I was like, okay. He's very confident. That's good. And he did sit with me and my husband for like 25 minutes and explained everything to me. He also examined my nose, agreed that my septum was deviated. They did take a bunch of photos first, and then he had them up on the screen in the room. And he was showing me like how things would work, like as far as the deviated septum, straightening that out. And then there's something in your nose called turbinates that he would shrink down apparently. And then he would take skin from my ear, cartilage from my ear, and use that to open up the airway on the collapsed nostril. And he did take like a stick and shove it up my nose and kind of open up the nostril, and asked me to tell him, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much better is my breathing? And it was so much better when he held the stick up my nose and sort of opened up my airway. Something I forgot to mention was at that time, my nose was also very, very dry. I mean, it was the worst it had ever thin. And when he looked up my nose, he said, ooh, you weren't lying. Your nose is extremely dry. So he told me to stop everything I was using, and he told me right then and there to get online and order this Pretz saline spray. I had been using Sizonex or some, popular saline spray and nasal decongestant, and he said, nope, stop everything, just get this. Then he also wrote me a prescription for this stuff, mupirocin ointment. He said it was better than polysporin or any of those saline gels. So I got this, and then he also wanted me to be on a short course of doxycycline antibiotic. And within 2 days of the combo of the antibiotic, this and this, my nose was 100 times better. The running stopped, the dryness stopped, I could breathe better. It was unbelievable. But back to the appointment. I expressed my concerns about, things looking worse, and being that my job is on camera, and how long would it take for me to look normal? And he was very honest with me, and he said, like I said earlier in the video, that revision rhinoplasties take longer to heal than original first-time rhinoplasties. He also said that there's a lot more risk because he doesn't know as a surgeon going in what's going to be there. Unlike the original surgeon, when he went in, he kind of knew already that there was not going to be any built-up scar tissue from a previous surgery. He was going in with a fresh nose, basically, whereas a new surgeon doesn't quite know what to expect, especially 30 years later. And I'll get into how that factored into the cost in a moment. But he said, there's no guarantees. Your nose will likely never be perfect. It will be better. There is a 90% chance that you will breathe better, but you could be very, very swollen for a very, very long time. You may have to come back here and get steroid shots to help with the swelling. And you may have to have some other little revision things done. And I don't want to say I freaked out, because I didn't freak out, but the wheels started turning, and there I was again back to the, oh gosh, do I really want to risk this? Is it going to be worth it? And then as he's kind of laying out the truth for me, and he said that he does surgeries like this all the time, so it's not like it would be new to him. He's very confident that he could help me, but he could not guarantee an outcome. Like, no surgeon can guarantee an outcome, which I knew in my head. I knew that, but then hearing it from him, I guess, I don't know what I was expecting, but the reality hit me, and I just didn't know what to say. I kind of just looked at my husband. He was in the same situation as me. We were both like, we don't know what the answer is. We don't know if this is something you should definitely do. So then when he was done with the consultation, he said, it's really nice to meet you. I think I could definitely help you. I think you'd be very happy, all that stuff. So then the scheduler, very sweet young girl, comes in. She asks, how did everything go? And I said, it went great. I'm just really, I have a lot of reservations because of, what I do for a living, and I'm nervous that it's going to look worse. And she was so sweet. She was so understanding. She was so empathetic. And then she goes in with the cost, and she says, there was some sort of miscommunication. When I was quoted, she said that they were not aware that it was a revision, which is more expensive than not being a revision. And I said, no, I definitely said that it was a revision. And in fact, that was probably the first sentence of my email. Hi, my name is Risa. I had a rhinoplasty in 1994. And it sounds like they knew that they were the ones that, I don't want to say messed up, but misunderstood, because even before I said that, when she came back in the room with the quote, she said that the doctor was going to give me a 10% discount because of the miscommunication, which wasn't really miscommunication because I know I told them it was a revision. So the quote ended up being not $30,000, but a little over $14,000. You also have to factor in the flights back and forth, hotels, car rentals perhaps. And he said I would have to come back about 3 weeks after surgery, and then every 3 months after that. In speaking to my husband afterwards, we both said that we shouldn't let the cost be the deterrent. If I truly feel like my health, if I'm going to feel better, if I'm going to breathe better, maybe sleep better, just have my quality of life be better, then we should definitely move forward. But I didn't do it right then and there. I knew I had to think about it. They said that the quote was good for 3 months' time. I couldn't even get the surgery until March because he's booked out until then. And then I started thinking, well, I'm going on this vacation, my husband and I, for our 25th anniversary in May. And do I really want to go on this vacation that we have been so excited for and paid so much money for with a big swollen nose? I just wasn't sure if that was going to be the best timing. So I thought, well, maybe I could do it in June when I got back. But then, and if you're still watching this, thank you. I hope it hasn't been too boring. I started watching episodes of Botched. And in one of the episodes, there was a woman in a very similar situation as me. And if you don't know what the show Botched is or what it's about, there are two very prominent plastic surgeons in California, and they are the stars of the show, and they have patients with extreme surgeries that have been botched, whether it's breast implants or nose jobs or butt implants or liposuction. They help to correct botched surgeries. So I don't know if you would call this botched or if it's just the way that my nose changed after 30 years or what the original surgeon was working with. I don't know. But this woman in this episode that I saw, her nose was honestly worse than mine. But she ultimately decided not to go through with the surgery. And I actually recorded that part of the episode and called my husband into the room to watch it because Dr. Nassif, who is one of the best, allegedly one of the best nose surgeons in the country, in the United States, he was saying to her the same thing that the surgeon that I went to told me, that there are no guarantees. She may have to have another surgery after. He would have to take, cartilage from this area, basically all the same things I was told. And she said, I don't think I'm going to do it. I think it's too risky. And they both said, Dr. Nassif and Dr. Dubrow, who's the other surgeon, he also said, you have to weigh the cost benefit and also the risk to benefit. That was really interesting to me. And it was just sort of nice to hear Dr. Nassif say, she made a good decision. It was a mature decision. It was a well thought out decision. And that's how he likes to see patients approach surgery. It's a major thing. And it can be not only physically challenging, but also mentally challenging. And then there was another similar situation in an episode that I saw where this woman decided to go through with the surgery. And she ended up having to have 4 more surgeries. She got an infection after the first one. And so then they had to go in and do something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then they just kind of quickly said that she ended up having 2 more revision, like minor surgeries, they said, after that. And her nose did not look that great after. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that as someone who has that exact fear, who's in that exact situation, and would not be happy if that were the outcome I had, especially after 4 surgeries, with someone who was supposed to be the best in the country. So after everything, the consultation, thinking about it for a couple of weeks now, hearing the feedback on that video where so many of you said, Risa, I don't even notice your nose. I just see your blue eyes or your makeup. And those things were really, really great to hear, really nice to hear, and have me leaning towards not doing the surgery. My nose does feel better, as I said, when it comes to the breathing. Is it perfect? No, but I don't have the dryness anymore. I don't know really what caused that infection, because obviously if the antibiotic cleared it up, then it was some sort of infection that I had. I just don't know right now if it's worth the risk. Is my life going to be exponentially better if I get this fixed? Yes, there could be improvement in, as I said earlier, my sleep, Who knows, maybe the tinnitus is related. Supposedly it's a brain stem issue and not a hearing or, ear, nose, and throat issue. But who knows? The body and mind are very complex. And at this moment in time, don't think I'm ready to take the chance. And if people want to comment on my nose and say, you should go on botched, or leave a comment that says, what happened to her nose? I will just have to put up with it like I have been and just, not let it bother me, and really just shift my thoughts and focus on those of you that say such positive things to me on a regular basis. So I feel like I have talked a lot, and hopefully I didn't leave anything out, but that is what happened at the consultation. This is where I'm at today. If you would like to message me privately for the name of the doctor, I would be happy to send you his name. And if I do happen to change my mind and go through with the surgery, I will of course take you with me through the process and share the plastic surgeon's name at that time. Okay, I think that'll do it. It feels kind of odd to say on a video like this, but if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, I hope that you'll consider doing so. I do post new videos at least twice per week, and you can also find more content from me over on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. My username is the same on every platform. It's Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.